Hope is both powerful and fragile. And trying to hold on to hope when it feels like there's so much going on within and around us can be difficult. So let's talk a little bit about holding on to hope when things feel really challenging. Welcome. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thank you for joining me. Well, this is the first video I'm recording for YouTube since the US election. And I actually tried to do this video yesterday, which was my first day back to work after being off last week. While I did the video, I completed the video, I was kind of a little bit, went into some tangents, but it was a really hard video for me to do. And I became incredibly emotional at different points in it. And so I wanted to be able to show up with you here in my first video back that I'm recording from a more grounded place. And I'm hoping that today is it and I can get through this. Particularly because I don't yet have waterproof mascara. So I need to try to make sure that I don't end up in that same place. At least while I do this video, I can have it afterward. I know that there are a lot of you that are really struggling, and really for a variety of reasons. And I know that because of conversations that I've had with people and understanding just from a psychological perspective, from an emotional perspective, what so much of this means. But last week I sent out an email to my community and just kind of acknowledging the grief and that sort of thing. And I think I got more responses back from that email than I have any other email that I've ever sent. And there were a few from people that were not happy, calling me stupid and retarded and that kind of thing. But certainly by far the majority, 99%, were from people that are having a hard time. So I wanted to do this video today to talk about hope. I want to acknowledge the grief and the pain and the variety of other feelings that you might be feeling. And we can certainly explore that more. But I do really want to be able to talk about holding on to hope right now. And to be honest, over these last several days, I have found myself struggling to hold on to hope. I've even questioned again, like, am I wrong? Am I giving people false hope about healing and what is possible? And that if we just keep talking about it, things will change. It's one of the things I started talking about yesterday that ended up was one of the times that got really bad. And I've had those moments of doubt. And then I come back in, I breathe, I ground, and even sometimes have connection with some other people. And remember that while the majority of people in the US are telling us that there's so much about humanity that doesn't matter, so much about the reality of people's very real struggles and experiences that don't matter. It absolutely does. You do. Your experiences matter. And while the majority of people, and now there are repercussions across the globe, have sent that message, there are a lot of people who don't believe that, who believe what we believe. And I think it is important to hold on to that. It's important to be able to remember what you have come to be able to recognize in the truth of who you are and what you're capable of. Because if you have been on this journey for any length of time at all, you have had moments, maybe many moments in a row, in which you've been able to see what could be possible, to trust in those moments that maybe it really is possible for you. You've had moments of recognizing that there are things that are showing up a little bit differently for you. And all of that is real. And all of that is going to be incredibly important to remember over these next weeks and months and years, because you can continue to build on that. Whatever else is going on around us, with the people around us, whatever betrayal you may have experienced as a result of this, while it is painful and it's important to honor that, you still have everything within you that you need to be able to heal. You have those very real lived moments of taking those steps forward, moving up that mountain, and being able to see and connect to the reality of things that are different for you. Boundaries that you recognize that you need, taking steps to make them happen, to enforce them. You've recognized moments of believing that maybe you're not to blame, that maybe there isn't something for you to be ashamed of. Maybe your voice and your experiences matter. All of that is still just as real. And while it is helpful and it is so painful when the people around us don't acknowledge or honor that or seem to care, all of that is very real within you. And it does matter. Deeply, it matters to so many people. To those of us who are along this journey with you. All that this brings up, wherever you are in the world, because this is not just affecting people here, all of this can feel so incredibly familiar in probably a lot of ways. And the more kind of points of your lived reality where this election and what it means touches into meaning. If you're watching this, you're likely a survivor. If you are a person of color, particularly a Black woman, if you are part of the LGBTQIA community, and many other things, those are just kind of large parts of the population that are really going to be deeply affected by this. People that are immigrants, even legal immigrants. So there are a lot of different ways that you're likely feeling afraid, likely feeling heartbroken and betrayed. And the more of those points that you have, the more layers there are to the impact and the betrayal and the ways that all of this might feel familiar. So it's really important to acknowledge, to be able to connect and notice how you are feeling. What is happening within you? I know for so many people, your inclination is to pull back, especially from people that seem like they may not get it, or you can't know for sure if they get it. And that is completely understandable. Incredibly unfortunate. One of the ways that this is deeply impacting people. But it is so incredibly important that you be really intentional. And I'm having to remind myself of this too right now. To be really intentional about making connection, creating connection with people who you feel supported by. Doesn't mean that you have to necessarily talk about what's going on, because it is important to take a step back sometimes, but connect to people that you feel safe with. It is so incredibly important. And I know that it may be hard to feel like there is anybody. So it is natural that you are going to potentially feel some reluctance. And it's okay, and it's important to acknowledge that, but then talk yourself through that. And while you may be feeling and fearing that with this particular person, do you have specific reasons that now you think you may not be able to trust them? And if not, try to lean into that a little bit. I do also think that it's really important that, particularly for survivors, to connect in some way, even if it's through like social media types of things or something, but certainly if possible in real life, whether that's in person or even virtually or something. But being able to connect with and have conversations with people who really understand it is so incredibly important. I think it's also really important to really kind of moderate what you're taking in, because there can be sometimes a balance between engaging with others who get it and being consumed by that. So be mindful of how you're feeling. Notice, are you feeling more down when you're not in those moments? Are you feeling more irritable when you're not in those moments connecting? Those can be signs that it may be a little bit too much for your system to take in, to experience at one time. So try to be really mindful of that. Being engaged with something, whether it's related to the current circumstances or something else, definitely can be really, really helpful, and I would say important. And if it is related to the current circumstances, again, just be mindful of how engaged you are and what kinds of feelings are present for you during that time. Also being really mindful about the type of content you're consuming. So whether it's news or just from content creators, just being mindful of how much you're taking in, how it's feeling to you, being very intentional about taking breaks from it. Certainly before you go to bed, being mindful of doing some sort of like process or routine to help you wind down and move away from all of the different types of thoughts and feelings associated with it, that bring up some of that heartbreak or grief or betrayal. So being really present with what is there for you and what you need, and try to remember that you matter, that your experiences matter, that you're not alone. And though we don't know right now what that path is ultimately going to look like, please know that you're not alone in navigating it, and that we will get through this. And I shared this in a short video, but You have survived one of the worst things that anybody could ever experience if you are a childhood trauma survivor. You have survived that. Your courage, your strength, your resilience, your determination, all of that exists within you. It always has, and it got you through that. It will continue to get you through this time period. I have no doubt about that. While I may have moments where I struggle with holding on to hope, believing that with every one of you is not something that I have wavered on. That is very real. And that doesn't go away no matter how heartbroken, how scared you might feel. So remember, together we heal. And we're not alone. I did it. Thank you for being here, and I am sorry. Okay, I'm not going to do this now. I am sorry that we have ended up in this place. I'm sorry you're hurting. You're not alone. Thank you for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.